Hi everyone, welcome to this video. In this presentation, I'm going to give a brief orientation for final year student project works for those pursuing Diploma, HND, and BTech. Usually, for the whole final year or for the whole academic year, which is the last one, you'll be required to undertake some final year project work. So that's basically what we're going to talk about. And the presentation actually has the following outline. First, I'm going to talk about a brief introduction to what the final year project is all about. Then I would also talk about the expected outcome at the end of the project work, what is expected that you should have achieved. Then I'm also going to talk about the oral presentation or the oral examination that will have to be done at the end of each semester of the final year. Then I'm also going to talk about supervisor, the role of the supervisor, the fact that the supervisor is there to help guide you through the project work. Then I'm also going to talk about the responsibilities of you as a student to work on the project work, to be serious and to finish the project work by the end of the academic year. Then I'll also talk about the relationship that you should develop with your supervisor in order to help so that you can have a smooth sail through the project work. And then I'll also talk about issues about time management. How you should manage your time in such a way that you should be able to do the project work in addition to all the other activities that you would have to take. And then I'll also talk about finding extra relevant information. Then I'll summarize the whole presentation. So let's jump right into it. Usually, the final year project work is just like any other courses that you've registered for in a semester. But just that here, what happens is that during the final year, the whole academic year, you are required to do this particular project work. So it runs through the first semester and then the second semester. And that is basically what it is. And because this project is just like any other course that you have to take, you must pass at the end of the semester in order to actually make progress to the next level. So at the end of the first semester, you will be assessed, and at the end of the assessment, you should be able to pass so that you can make progress to the second semester. Most of the time, if you are not able to pass the first semester, you will not be allowed to even go on further into the second semester. It's an automatic repeat for you. And during the period for the final year project, basically what you are supposed to do is that you are supposed to find a problem confronting society and then propose an engineering solution to that particular problem. And your engineering solution may be in the form of a device or a machine or some concept, something that solves the problem or solves a part of the problem. And during this process, because sometimes some of the projects may be involving, the students are actually put in groups. The groups may be 2 students, 3 students in a group, 4 students in a group, or 5 students in a group, or sometimes even beyond that in a group. And you are required to work together as a group in order to achieve a common purpose. So at the end of the academic year, you should have finished the project work. And once you're in a group, you're required to work hard in a group, and you are also required to collaborate with your supervisor to ensure that you can actually achieve the desired results at the end of the academic year so you can complete school and graduate and leave. Now, at the end of the academic year, it is expected that at least you should have finished the project work, because the project work takes place throughout the academic year. So you'll be working on it right from the first semester into the second semester, and at the end of the second semester, it's expected that you should have finished actually. So at the end of the academic year, preferably before the beginning or before the start of the second semester examination, you as a student is expected that you should have finished the project work by then. So just going into examination, you should have actually finished your project work. And at this particular time, you should have actually finished what you're actually doing, whether you're doing a design or fabrication or whatever it is. The item that you're fabricating, you should have finished that particular item. And then you should have also finished typing or writing out your final project report. These are the 2 main things, or the 2 main deliverables, which you should have finished by the end of the academic year. And it is important that as a student or as a group, you do not allow your project work to run into the vacation at the end of the academic year. Because if your work runs into the vacation at the end of the academic year, that would actually give more frustrations to you. because most of the time, most supervisors will be busy during that time, marking examination scripts and doing all sort of things. And mind you, it's also vacation, so other people have other plans for vacation. So if your work runs into the vacation at the end of the academic year or at the end of the second semester, then you would have much bigger problems to deal with, by then. So it is important that the time frame that has been given you within the academic year, before the end of the academic year, you make good use of that time frame, so that at least by the end of the academic year or by the end of the second semester, before examination begins, you will have been done with your project work. Now, usually, at the end of each semester, there is an examination for the project work, and usually this examination is an oral examination where you come in to explain what you've done at the end of the semester. And this oral examination usually takes 40% share of the total end of semester project marks. So the total project marks for the semester, which is 100%, this oral examination takes 40% of that, and then the other 60% is taken by your supervisor. So usually at the end of the first semester or during the first semester examination, each group or each project group is required to be able to explain what they've done so far, and it's expected that at this particular time, as a student group, you should be able to actually explain what your main introduction is, what your problem statement is, or what problem that you're solving, what your specific objectives are, and then what your research justification is, or what is the relevance of the project work that you're working on to the national economy and to the global community, and then what your proposed methodology is, how you intend to do the work, and then your literature review. These things that I've mentioned represent the first two chapters of your project report, and it is expected that by the end of the first semester you should have finished these two chapters, and then you should have been able to come to the oral defense to present what you've done so far in this particular regard. And during the second semester examination, or the examination at the end of the academic year, each student group is required to be able to explain the whole project from the beginning to the end, because at that time it is expected that as a student you would have finished your whole project from the beginning to the end. So you should be able to explain what the details of the project are. And during these oral presentation, you should also be ready to answer questions. In fact, each student within the group should familiarize themselves very well with whatever it is that they're working on, so that individually they are ready to answer questions, because some panels, they like to ask the questions individually. So nobody actually has a chance to hide behind a group and do nothing in a group and just come and present themselves during the presentation as if they did something. So as an individual within a group, you should actually be ready to answer questions, because if you're unable to answer questions, your inability to answer these questions can affect you as an individual and not necessarily as a group. So it is important that you take note of this. Now, during the project work period, you'll be assigned a supervisor. Each project groups will be assigned a supervisor. And the supervisor, or the main role of the supervisor, is to help guide you throughout the duration of your project work. So the supervisor is there because supervisor has worked with multiple students before you and has some kind of experience. The supervisor can actually guide you throughout the duration of your project reports, so that things can be relatively easier for you. And at the end of each semester of the final year, the supervisor actually has a 50% share of the total mark. So the project defense will carry the 40%, and then your supervisor would actually be in charge of the 60%. So they'll look at you, the progress of work, what you've done so far, and they will assess you based on the 60% share that they have. The supervisor has the responsibility to meet you, the students, at least twice a week to ensure that you as students do the project work. It's very, very important to know this. At least twice a week, the supervisor should meet you to ensure that everything is going on smoothly, and then whatever difficulties you have, you can explain and discuss with the supervisor, and then some remedial actions can be taken. It is important at this point as a student to know that your supervisor is not to do the project work for you. In fact, the supervisor cannot do the project work for you. However, it is their responsibility to help you, to guide you through the project work. So you as a student, you also have the responsibility to come out with ideas and do the project work, because it is your work. It is your project work. So it is your responsibility to come out with ideas and then do the project work. And then As you make progress, you discuss the updates and whatever challenges you're facing with the supervisor, and the supervisor guides you basically. And always during this process, there must be dialogue between the student and the supervisor concerning things related to the project. There must be dialogue, there must be discussion, so that problems or challenges that you, the students, may be facing, you can actually discuss with the supervisor. Because sometimes just some few minutes of discussions with the supervisor can save you the trouble of having to go through the whole semester trying to find something that you may never find. But that thing can easily be explained to you by the supervisor in just a matter of few minutes, So it's very important that that dialogue be kept open and flowing so that you can discuss things freely and openly with your supervisor. As a student or as a project student, you also have some basic responsibilities. The main responsibility that you have as a student is to actually do the project work and finish the project work within the given time frame, which is the academic year. So you have the first semester, you have the vacation in between, then you have the second semester, and this is a time frame that you have to help you do the project work. And as a result of this, it is important that you as a student, whatever project topic that your supervisor gives you, or whatever project idea your supervisor gives you to work on, you have to ensure that it is something you can do within the time frame. Because if the project is too difficult beyond your capacity as a student, you need to be able to discuss with your supervisor so that the project work can be broken down, into a much simpler form that you can easily do and finish by the end of academic year. Because it's important that by the time the academic year ends, you, the student, should have been done with the project work. You should have finished what it is. So what is given to you to do, you must ensure that it is doable. It is something you can easily do within the academic year. And as a student or as a project student, you also have the responsibility to study and generate ideas, which will help you do the project work successfully. Without studying ideas, sometimes very, very simple things can actually be very difficult for you. So throughout the project duration, you would have to generate ideas, you would have to discuss amongst your groups, you would have to find out information from books from online and several other things to help you so you can put solid ideas together and actually do the project work and finish within the time frame. And students, as a student, you also have the responsibility to meet your supervisor periodically. At least twice a week, you need to meet your supervisor. Put pressure on your supervisor, meet him, discuss the progress of work with your supervisor and challenges you're facing, because that discussion can keep ideas flowing so that you can also make progress within the time frame that you're given. And as a student, you must be open to new ideas from your colleagues, from your group, from your supervisor. And you must not attach emotions to negative comments that your supervisor actually poses to you, because sometimes some of the things your supervisor may not agree with you. When that happens, you don't have to attach emotions to it. You just have to look at the issues objectively and do what you can to resolve whatever challenges that you actually may be facing. Now, at the end of the academic year, the project work must be completed. That is the most important thing of all. At the end of the academic year, your project work must be completed. Because when you're able to complete successfully, it goes to benefit you as a student, and it also goes to benefit the supervisor. But it benefits you as a student more because the project is a requirement you need to fulfill in order to help you complete school and to graduate and live in peace. So because of this fact, you, the student, you must be able to work together with your supervisor to ensure that you successfully complete the project work. Because at the end of the day, it goes to benefit both of you. So it's a mutual beneficial thing. But it benefits you, the student, more because it is a requirement needed for your completion of the course that you are doing. So it's very important that you put in all seriousness in order to get this project work done. And as a student, you must be respectful, you must be hardworking, and you must strive to build a cordial relationship with your supervisor. Because if you have a good relationship with your supervisor, and information flows freely between you and your supervisor, at the end of the day, it makes things much easier for you. Things become much easier for you. You're able to communicate freely. Sometimes you may not need to locate your supervisor physically in order to discuss things with them. You can call them on phone. You can create a WhatsApp group, whatever it is. And information can flow freely, at your own convenience without becoming a headache for you. And then things like laziness, disrespect, dishonesty, and other bad behaviors, that shows that the student is not serious, will usually make life more difficult for the student, because at the end of the day, most supervisors will not condone such behaviors from students. So if you're lazy and you're not serious with the project work or whatever it is, at the end of the day, it will hit you more, because your supervisor may not also commit fully to you for the project work that you're doing. At the end of the day, it is you it is going to affect. So it's important that you put in all seriousness as a student and to ensure that you finish the project at the end of the academic year, because at the end of the academic year, the project work must be completed. It's very, very important. Now, during the period for the project work, time management is also something that as a student you need to also pay very close attention to, because as a student you have a whole lot of responsibilities in addition to the project work. You are required to do the project work. In addition, you are required to do other things like studying, attending classes, doing assignments, preparing for examinations, and other extracurricular non-academic stuff. So you are required to combine all these things, because all these are all important things, in addition to doing your project work. So you must manage your time well. You must have dedicated time frames for each activity, and you need to be able to properly manage each of your activities, so that if you don't stress out yourself eventually, because stress is not good for your health and stress is not good for the body. But if you manage your time properly, you will be able to go through all these activities and finish them, each one of them, and still make progress at the end of the day. And this is the reason why you must be able to manage your time very well, so you can do the project and do all the other activities that you have to do. And at least daily, 2 hours a day, or minimum 1 hour a day, you need to be able to dedicate this to your project work, so that you can be consistent, because the consistency would help you to generate more ideas that can help you jump through whatever difficulties that you may have. And this consistency would also help you so you can finish the project work on time, because there have been people or project groups that have actually finished their project even at the end of the first semester or during the vacation between the first semester and the second semester. Nothing stops you. If you can finish your whole project even at the end of the first semester, it goes to help you, because it will make you free towards the second semester, and you can have more time to do other things and all that. So time management is very key. Time management is very, very important. You need to manage your time so you can have time for all the important things you have to do as a student, in addition to doing your final year project work. Finding information is also key. It's very important, and this is the main thing that will help you go through your project work very, very easily. Without information, you will have difficulty, and most of these difficulties, it will be very difficult for you to jump across them. And there are multiple sources of information available, especially in these current times where the internet is available. There's a lot of social media platforms and whatever it is. All these platforms have relevant information that can help your project work. So things like communicating with your supervisor, getting ideas from your supervisor, visiting your library, looking at various books that are available, getting your own private books, or getting onto the internet, running general search for information, using the social media platforms, discussing amongst your colleagues or amongst your project group members, your own observation. These are all important sources of information, and these sources actually carry very relevant information that can help you actually go through this project work successfully, because without information you won't make it. And all these sources of information can help you to generate very good and refined ideas, for your project work, so you can make gradual progress and finish the project work at the end of the day. And once you have ideas, once you're able to generate ideas from all these sources of information, in fact, a very difficult project work, or a project work that seems difficult at the beginning, can actually become much easier with time and much simpler, because of all the extra ideas that you have, to help you carry out the project work. So as a student or as a project student, you must learn what it takes to seek and to get relevant information from all the sources of information I've described above, so that you can actually make good use of this information. Because when it comes to things like the internet, social media, and several other things, There are relevant information in there. There are also other things that will distract you, that will actually create problems for you. You need to be able to filter through these two, and you need to be able to use these platforms to focus on the information that will help you carry out your project work, and that will help you finish your project work on time, so you don't become found wanting at the end of the day. And in this current generation, all these platforms are available to everybody to make good use of them. So let's summarize what has been discussed so far. And what has been discussed so far is very simple and straightforward. As a final year student, you are required to do final year projects. And this final year project is just part of the courses you have to do, and it's part of the requirements you must fulfill to help you graduate peacefully. And as students or as project students, you'll be assigned supervisors, and these supervisors will help guide you throughout the duration of the project, which is the whole academic year. And mind you, for the academic year, you have the first semester, you have the vacation after the first semester, then you have the second semester, at least up to the time of the end of semester examinations for the second semester. So this is the duration that you must make good use of as a student, so you can make sure that you finish your project work within this time frame. And during this period for the project work, it is the responsibility of you, the student, to be serious and to work cordially with your supervisor, so you can finish the project work by the end of the academic year. Because whether you like it or not, at the end of the academic year, the project work must be done and must be completed, and you as a student must finish this project work, or it could be possible that you may not be able to graduate at the end of the day. And at the end of each semester of the final year, there is oral examination that you go through as a student. So at the end of the first semester, you go through oral examination, where you go and describe the status of your work and where you've been able to work up to, so that you can receive even feedback from panel members, which can help you refine your work and help you so that by the end of the academic year you would have finished the work. And at the end of the second semester, the same examination will be done, but this time you'll be required to come and explain what you've done from the beginning to the end, and you'll be assessed based on this one. And during these examinations or during these presentations, it is important that every student within the group familiarizes themselves with whatever it is being done, so that you are ready at any point in time to answer questions. If any personal question is asked to you individually, so you can answer, because your inability to answer a question or how you conduct yourself individually may not necessarily affect the whole group, but it will go to affect you individually as a student. So it's very important that everybody be on the same page and prepares for this end of semester examination. And after everything, by the end of the academic year, by the end of the second semester of the final year, the project work should have been completed, and you as a student, you should have been done with the project work. You should have completed it, so that you can go peacefully through this examination period, and then be assessed, and then get your mark at the end of the day, and then move ahead and complete the whole program. So this brings me to the end of the presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.